Welcome back to the table today. Today we have something very exciting for you. I don't know if I've been this excited for a while, and I'm not slow playing this because you obviously already saw the description, but we're going to be talking about Marine Worlds. What is that? Well, that's the Ark Nova expansion that's coming later this year.
Finally coming.
It's not only finally coming, but we finally got some information. We have actually some, from what I'm told anyway, some exclusive details here. We've got cards, we've got information that I don't think anyone knew. I didn't know before I got these emails.
Breaking news. Like, we just learned about this game. And I'll say, as Ark Nova being one of my favorite games, I think it was one of your favorite games of the year, made it onto our top 10 list of all time. It's been a game that you've seen everywhere. And when they announced this expansion, I was like, okay, cool. This focus on marine life, aquatic life. We're going to have all these new animals, obviously, that are underwater themed.
It could have just been that.
And I thought that was all it was going to be, but it's not. It's not just that.
No, a lot of companies would just say, hey, let's add fish. And they are doing that. But more importantly, they're doing some things, I think, taking into consideration a lot of things that people, whatever minor gripes anyone had out there about the game, some of that is being addressed for sure.
A lot of it is being addressed for sure.
One of which, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest gripes was, people wanting to cycle through the deck more and kind of feeling like, I can't get that one card I'm looking for.
It's kind of interesting. They obviously heard that critique of people saying that row does not move. And if you're familiar with the game, there's a row of cards, and you're kind of buying cards and taking cards from that row over the course of the game, but you can get into some situations where you're building a particular engine, like an engine that really wants monkeys or an engine that really wants birds, and there might not be any, and it can be a struggle to churn through those cards. So they've actually introduced a ton of new things into the game that will let you go through that. They've added card abilities that let you look through the deck for specific cards. They've added some icons that let you discard cards from the top of the deck until you find the type of card you're looking for. They've added some cards that let you replenish the row faster. In fact, it looks like all of the new underwater cards have this wave symbol that when they come into the row, they cycle the row. They kind of make a wave.
Yes, it kind of washes the row, if you will. Not completely, but whenever one of those cards comes out, it'll be signified by a little wave icon. And I do think it's probably just the water creatures.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Because this new expansion does have some new other creatures, but they don't have this wave. But when the wave comes out, it's added to the row. Then you eliminate the furthest card and move it on again and add another card. So that could cascade and really cycle through some cards.
And those cards that let you, there's card abilities that let you specifically look for cards. There's card abilities that refresh, but then those new icons, it's a little magnifying glass icon, and this is pretty cool because it's going to show up on some university tiles and some other places that literally do let you dig or search for a very particular type of card, which is great if you're, one short of that conservation project, or if you have, an economy that really needs you to play one more of a certain type. It's really nice, and I think that's going to fix some qualms that people had about the original base game.
Yeah, in fact, that university tile is a new addition. It actually comes on a new conservation board
there's a new association board that has more spaces because there's going to be some more tiles that are going to be out on that association board.
I don't know if it's an add-on board or if it's a replacement board, but that board is going to have more options on the university tokens that you can take. And one of those is going to have all of the following: a science token, an animal icon, or not a science token, a science symbol, an animal symbol, which I assume will count for the number of that animal you have in your zoo, and I think it's that same symbol allows you to search through the deck one card at a time until you find an animal of that type, which is really cool.
Yeah, and so of course, with this being about marine life, let's not forget to talk about the fact that is a whole new segment of the game is these marine animals. Yes, the expansion is going to come with a bunch of new cards that get shuffled into the deck. Of course, some of those are going to be just more of land animals, but the water animals are pretty cool. Not only do they have the wave symbol, there's a bunch of new mechanics that come into play with these underwater animals.
The reef dwellers.
One of them is these reef dwellers. And all of these reef dwellers have abilities, and when you play one, it triggers all of your reef dweller abilities.
If we understand that, we don't have the rule book, but if we understand the rules as they've been explained, when you play one of those, that reef symbol might have an ability on it, and you get to do that ability. And any other reef dwellers you have all fire off as well, which is, that's my style of game.
That is like,
I love playing a card and then it's just brah. So there's a lot of really cool, interesting abilities there. I think most of the cards lean into a lot of the new things that the game is trying to do, incorporating some of those things, obviously, because you're going to want to balance out that deck with some of this new stuff so that it feels that it's mixed throughout.
Well, and one new thing they're adding too, a new building type, which is the aquarium, and that's going to be kind of like the reptile house or the aviary, except this is going to be for these underwater creatures, so you could have that aquarium and you could add those cubes in to hold some of these animals in an aquarium, which is nice. And of course, there's going to be some new sponsorship cards that come out with some new tiles that have to be placed on the board.
New
like
final
the old
scoring
ones.
cards.
There are new final scoring cards, new conservation cards, a
Bonus
bunch of
tiles.
new cards.
New bonus tiles. And in fact, I think this is a new rule, but one of the bonus tiles is placed at the end of the reputation track, sort of making that a little bit more attractive, more so than it even
Yeah, because
was.
there really wasn't a huge benefit for getting to the end of that reputation
No, but
track.
if you get there, I'm assuming you get that bonus tile when you get
the
there.
first person to get there. It's
Now-
kind of like going up that conservation track. Yeah.
So in addition to all of that is probably, in my opinion, the coolest thing that
We're
they're
ready to
adding
talk
to
about
this.
I agree with you.
I think this is going to be the part of the game that everyone's like, oh, that sounds so cool.
This was not even teased.
No, this has not been teased. It is new alternate action cards. Now, this isn't like alternate art or something like that. These are alternate action cards that you're going to be using to take your actions. At the beginning of the game, there's some form of draft. We're not exactly sure the style of draft, but there's a draft that's going to have each player end up with 3 new alternate action cards. And then you're going to choose 2 of those, and they have to be 2 different ones,
Sure, you can't-
obviously.
Right.
You have to have all the actions. You're going to choose 2 of those to replace the standard action cards of the same type. And these cards, basically,
cool.
obviously they do at a base level the same sort of thing, but better.
Yeah,
So this injects a ton of asymmetry to the game from the
there
very
are
beginning.
still those base cards, and there's something like 20 of these cards that are going to be used. You're not going to see all of them every game, but you are going to start with just 2 better cards. And like the cherry on top is that we were given exclusive access to 3 of those
We
cards.
have 3 of them. And just so you know, we're not the only ones. There's going to be other people posting some videos. I'm told they have other things to share, so look out for those as well.
You got to watch every video about this expansion if you want to see all the pieces. But from seeing these 3 and being able to talk about these 3, we can kind of get an idea of like what to expect from them in general. And I want to talk about this first one. This is the new build card. Of course, it does the same standard stuff. And you can see even on the build card, it now lets you build an aquarium, which I think is just going to be the standard build action. But this one lets you pay to build over rocks and water.
Yeah,
which
1
is
rock or 1
huge.
water on your build. So you can pay an extra 2 to
It's
build on a
huge.
rock or water. That is very cool to offer that flexibility. The other ones we have are sponsor and cards. The sponsor one is pretty straightforward, but also interesting. It gives you the optional action on top of the normal action of taking a sponsor card out of your hand and discarding it in order to effectively snatch up a sponsor card that might be in the display.
Yeah, I mean, that's great for that flexibility, because sometimes, especially if you're drawing cards from the top of the deck, you might end up with some sponsorship cards that you're never going to play.
Right.
You don't meet the requirements, and then there's that juicy sponsor card right there in the row, but if your level's not high enough, you can't take that card. So that is great, again, for flexibility. And then the cards, the version of the cards that we saw does not have any new abilities. It's just a better version of the card.
A much better version.
A much
of the
better.
card,
It
in
lets
my
you
opinion.
it lets you snap earlier, so you don't have to wait till it gets up to level 5 to snap. And the reverse side, the pink side, lets you snap 2 cards.
Yeah, at the highest
huge.
power, you can snap 2 cards, and it lets you snap all the way down at level 2,
Yeah.
which was not the case
No,
before.
no.
I mean,
So you're snapping. You're basically not even needing to worry about your reputation level. You could snap all the time, and I think that that's a good example. Like the other 2 were cards that had the base ability plus a secondary ability.
Yeah.
This one was just a better version of the base ability. So I'm wondering if we're going to see some that are kind of like that, where they just have a better version of the base ability, or maybe, like other build cards that have other abilities.
sure, I'm
because-
sure. With 20 of them, there's got to be
Right.
multiple of the different actions. And remember, you get 2 of these.
Yeah.
In fact, you get 3, and you have to choose 2 of the 3. But that's going to really change things up, because this is not a game, I think, except for the Zoom apps themselves, this is not a game where people are like, oh, what are you doing over there that I can't do? But now,
Right.
it is absolutely going to be when people use those powers.
Yeah, your asymmetry in the game kind of came out as you grew and as you played
Yeah.
different animals and different project cards. This is giving you some of that asymmetry right off the top. It's giving you a direction to go, and you are getting to draft that. So you're getting some control over what you end up with those cards to play, and that should kind of inform your early game strategy by just giving you something to do that's better. I'm like, nobody else might build if I have the best build card. Like, I'm going to be building a lot more often.
Yeah, so if you weren't looking forward to this already, which if you're watching this channel, you probably are, because Ark Nova shot up. It's number 4 now, right?
And it's climbing. I mean, it doesn't show signs of stopping.
I don't know if there's ever been another game that's climbed.
I mean, Gloomhaven climbed
I don't think
pretty
it
fast.
climbed this fast. Ark Nova is about a year old,
It is
right?
about a year old.
I mean, it's showing no signs of stopping either. But yeah, this expansion is coming out later this year. And by now, in this video, I believe we've probably shown you every bit of information we have. There are a few icons that we can put up, but we have all these cards and all the action cards. So if you have any questions about all of it or any of it, put them in the comments below, and we'll try to answer what we can that we didn't already share in the video.
Yeah.
Until next time, though, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.